So today I would like to demonstrate several concepts. So this is the displacement of the displacement s meters of a moving particle. So this is calculus. This came in KCSE 2013. Yes, paper 1, I think number 17. Now, let us retake this question. We have the displacement s meters of a moving particle from point O after t seconds is given by s equals to t cubed minus 5t squared t squared plus 3t plus 10. Part A. Find S when t equals to 2. So the first thing you want to solve when given this question is to understand first the question. You need to understand, and that is why we always keep on saying that we have a language of mathematics. You need to read well and then understand. So for this question, you are told the displacement s meters. So it's given when you see s. So this is the displacement. Okay. It is given as that of a moving particle from point O after t seconds is given as that. So the first question you ask to find s when t is this. So find s when t is 2. So you just replace is equals to 2 cubed minus 5, 2 squared plus 3, 2 plus 10. So you're not supposed to fail this question because it is just direct. So 2 cubed is 8 minus 2 squared 4 times 5, 20 plus 6 plus 10. And so when you have this, you're supposed to first add. You have 8 plus 6 plus 10 minus 20, which is 14, 24 minus 20, which is 4. So 4 what? 4 meters. So this is 2 marks. Okay? So the next part is part B. You are asked to determine part A, the velocity. Velocity when t is equals to 5 seconds. Now, what do you know about this question is in the last topics of Form 4 calculus. So what do you know about the velocity? The velocity is change in displacement over change in time. Okay? So what do we know about change in d displacement? Now change in s over change in time. It is differentiation, which we say ds over dt. So v is equals to ds over dt. Okay? And so this is what we are supposed to solve and replace where t is 5. Now s equals to t cubed minus 5t squared plus 3t plus 10. ds over dt is equals to 3t squared minus 10t. Remember in differentiation, if I can just take you through differentiation, how you differentiate we can just write, then we are going to, so you have 3t cubed minus 1, okay? So you first bring this 3, then the remaining power you subtract 1, minus 5 times 2 t 2 minus 1 plus 3t, so 3 times 1, remember there is 1, then t 1 minus 1 plus this is like 10 t raised to 0, it has a t raised to 0 which is 1. Now that 0 times t raised to 0 minus 1. By virtue of multiplying by 0, this one will go, okay? Now, if you solve this, you have 3t squared minus 10t plus 3. So, t1 minus 1 is equals to 0. T raised to 0 is 1. So, you can, if you get used to it, you can just come directly to this. You don't need to write all this. Okay, so I've just done this for someone who is not familiar with differentiation. So this is your answer. ds over dt is this. Now, when t is equals to ds over dt, when t is equals to 5, you have 5 squared minus 10, 5 plus 3. And then you solve this, you have 5 squared is 25 times 3, 75, minus, this is 50 plus 3. So this is 28. 28 what? We are looking at ds over dt, which is velocity. Velocity is given as meters per second. So this is your answer, and it is very, very easy, as you can see. Now, now the next question, this is part 1. Part 2 asks, you know, you need to understand maths so that it does not become a cramming, something you should be cramming. Like when you are given a displacement and you asked about the velocity, you know it is changing displacement over time that will give you velocity. Just like speed is equals to distance over time. So in physics, when you're unafanya physics, and don't say that those people doing physics have an advantage. I didn't do physics, but I used to get this question very well. So in physics, velocity is equals to change in displacement over change in time. Okay? Now, and then there is acceleration, which is change in velocity over change in time. So you differentiate this a second time. Now, this question you need to know when you are supposed to differentiate and when you are supposed to integrate. If you are given velocity and you asked for displacement, you integrate. You're coming from this from ds over dt to find s. Okay? So you're coming from here to find this, you need to integrate. But if you're given this and you're coming here, you differentiate. Now, the other question, the value of t when the particle is momentarily at rest. So, momentarily at rest. You asked for value of t. Now, what you need to know is what does it mean for a particle to be momentarily at rest? For a particle to be momentarily at rest, it means like it is resting, it's like it's not moving. So, in quotes, it is momentarily at rest. So, if you draw a curve of a particle, you draw a stone or a particle, now it is moving at this speed. At this point, when now it is turning down, it's like ni kama imesimama pale. So that is what we call momentarily at rest. Momentarily at rest, it means now the velocity is 0. Okay? It is not the displacement, it is not the acceleration, it is the speed. It's like it is resting. So at this point, note, at momentarily at rest, velocity is equals to 0. Velocity is equals to ds over dt is equals to 0. Now, what is our ds over dt in here? So 3t squared minus 10t plus 3 equals to 0. Now find t. Okay? From this point then, it is easy because you are going to solve a quadratic equation. With a quadratic equation, assume now it is like 3x squared minus 10x. So what we are, a quadratic equation, to solve a quadratic equation, it is given as ax squared plus bx plus c equals to 0. With this, you are always asked, you are supposed to split this into 2. To split this, you are supposed to split it into 2 values or factors, where AC and then B. So 2 values. So maybe let's call them M and N, where if you multiply them, they'll give you this. If you add them, they'll give you B. Okay? I hope now, if you have done these questions, good. If you don't know how to solve a quadratic equation and you write up to here, maybe you'll get 1 mark. But now you need to solve it. And it is quite easy. Now, I know this for most people, they have done this. If you get to Form 4 and you're doing calculus, then you definitely have done quadratic equation. So 2 values that when you multiply them, when you multiply this, it is 9. And this is negative 10. So 2 factors that when you multiply, they'll give you this, and when you add them, they'll give you negative 10. So do your maths and you'll find these 2 values. Where negative 10, negative 9 and negative 1, if you add them, you will have negative 10. If you multiply them, you will have positive 9. Okay? Yes. Now, come here with your 2 factors and subtract. You have, not really subtract, you split this. 3t squared minus 9t minus t plus 3 equals to 0. Okay? So 3t squared, so you have split this. There is nothing you have done. It is still negative 10. Okay? Now, factorize. Like terms here, you have 3t, t minus 3. And then t minus 3, you factor in, you will have negative 1 equals to 0. Good. Now, 3t minus 1, 3t minus 1, t minus 3 equals to 0. Now, the answer is either, we know that if you multiply 2 values and you get a 0, maybe a times b equals to 0, then one of the values must be 0. So that when you multiply them, you get ultimately the 0. Okay? Alright, so you have 3t minus 1 equals to 0, or t minus 3 equals to 0, where in this case, you'll have 3t equals to 1. So t is equals to 1 over 3. And in this case, t is equals to 3. 3 what? 3 seconds. So the time when the particle is momentarily at rest, it is either when t is equals to 1 over 3 seconds or 3 seconds. Yes. I hope up to that point that question is clear. Yes. Now we move on to the next question. The last part of this question. So that last part we can still do it at here. See. So we asked, find the time when the velocity of the particle is maximum. Find the time. Let me see whether I can see a pen of a different color. It's very far. Can't see one. Okay, now the time when the velocity of the particle is maximum. So what do we know about maximum velocity? Okay, I hope you can see here, but I can still write there. Yes. So when the velocity is maximum, at this point the acceleration is zero because speed, tuseme gari imeanza kuenda inaenda ikiaccelerate wakati inatoka hapa, so a car is starting, it goes accelerating. The more it goes, the faster it is. At the time when it hits maximum speed, say 8 kilometers per hour, so now it goes without changing, or now it wants to reduce the speed. At that time when it has the highest velocity or a particle, you have just umerusha a particle imefika maximum velocity. At that time it cannot accelerate any further. Okay, so acceleration equals to 0 at velocity is equals to maximum. You need to note that. Now we need to find the velocity. Velocity equals to, not velocity, we need to find the acceleration so that we can equate to 0. Acceleration is equals to change in v over change in time. And we have v equals to v, this change in s over change in t, which is velocity, is equals to 3t squared. So this t squared minus 10t plus 3. So acceleration equals to change in v over change in t is equals to, you differentiate again. As we said, if you are good in differentiation, you don't need to write that you have subtracted 1 here. So 2 times 3, 6t minus 10 t raised to 0. T raised to 1 minus 1 is t raised to 0. So this is your answer, and this answer disappears. Then you are, yes, now you are asked when the velocity, when acceleration is 0, when the velocity is maximum, acceleration is 0. So you equate this to 0, okay? Now you say 6t minus 10 equals to 0. So 6t equals to 10. T is equals to 10 over 6, which is 1 and 4 over 6 or 2 over 3. 2 over 3 seconds. 2 over 3 seconds. Alright? And with that now, we are done with that question. If we can mark for ourselves. You'll excuse me for just a minute. I look for don't worry. Now let us mark for ourselves. This question was worth 2 marks, this part. So find s when t is equals to 0. By just replacing here, you have m1. And this is a1. If you get this correctly. I don't know whether I should just take a red pen. Yes, let me take a red pen instead. A red pen is better for this, so that it can enhance visibility. Now, let's assume I didn't mark. So here you have M1, and this you have A1. So you have 2. Okay. Right. We go to part B1, and the question has 3 marks. So the velocity of a particle when t. So by just knowing that you are supposed to differentiate, by writing something like this, that you are going to differentiate, you have m1, correct differentiation, m1, and then replacing that 5, you have a1. So here you have 3 marks. Okay. We go to the other part of the question. The value of t when the particle is momentarily at rest, we have 3 marks. So we have said you find you put the velocity to 0. So this is method 1. Or bonus 1 if you just write the velocity is equals to 0. Then you solve this, you have m1. And then you have the correct answer, which is both. You have A1. So again, you have 3 marks. Okay? So at this point, you have 8 marks. You are remaining with 2 marks. Now, you are asked about the velocity of the particle. You say acceleration is 0. So this is, by writing this or just differentiating. You are not differentiating. Yes, you're differentiating. So here you have method 1. Method 1 by finding the acceleration, and then you have your answer by equating by 0. So you have 1. So this is 2. And then you have your 10 marks. Okay? Yes.